Emma's 45-year-old knees hit pavement hard as she face-planted into Seattle's annual Pike Place Pottery Fair. Crowds gasped. A rogue bead from her thrifted kimono rolled toward a spinning clay wheel. Her nemesis, now salvation. Last summer's community barbecue humiliation still burned, but gritty fingers remembered what her mind forgot. Centrifugal force forgives wobbles. Exhibition flyers fluttered like dare slips. She wiped strawberry jam off her elbow. Why always jam? And stood. Mud-streaked, grinning, Emma lunged for wheel. Centering clay, Emma's 45-year-old knees hit pavement hard as she stumbled into clay and kindness, a pottery studio smelling of damp earth and second chances. That morning, her hands had trembled holding coffee, same way they did decades ago when middle school laughter followed her down hallways like tin cans tied to a bride's getaway car. Now, spinning clay felt like wrestling ghosts. Centering lumpy earth on a wheel, she pressed too hard. A wobbly tower collapsed. Emma exhaled, hearing echoes of her ex's voice. Careful, you'll break it. But clay wasn't china. It forgave. Each collapse was a do-over. Each groove her thumb carved a rebellion against perfection. By week 3, her mugs leaned like drunken poets, but studio's vibes, warm as community BBQs where no one judged burnt burgers, eased her pulse. She noticed others' cracks too, a vet with scarred hands crafting peace, a teen shaping anger into vases. When flyers went up for a pop-up exhibition, Emma's gut clenched. Showing up felt riskier than bare feet on hot pavement. But she signed up, throwing a lopsided bowl named 45 and fumbling into kiln. Opening night, strangers traced its uneven ridges. One woman chuckled, "Looks like my life." Emma grinned. Clay didn't care about age or grace. It just asked for hands willing to try, again and again and again. Emma's 45-year-old knees hit pavement hard as she tripped over uneven sidewalk, sending her purse skidding toward a storefront. Inside, warm light spilled over spinning clay wheels, fingers shaping earth into something new. Dusting off jeans, she hesitated, until a woman with wild silver curls and clay-streaked apron waved her in. "Floor's friendlier here," she grinned, nudging a stool toward Emma. Seattle's gray skies had mirrored Emma's mood for months, social circles shrinking like overfired pots. But this studio? Vibes were different. No small talk, just hands busy with purpose. First attempts were lopsided disasters. Clay collapsed like bad soufflés, thumbs punching holes where curves should have been. Yet each wobble felt lighter than office parties where she'd clung to walls like kiln shelves. Minter Marge, 68 and spry as her terrier, taught her to center clay like centering breath. "It's not about perfection," she'd say, guiding Emma's palms. "It's about showing up." Community BBQs became less daunting when Emma brought hand-painted mugs. Neighbors leaned in, not her, but beside her, tracing glaze patterns like shared secrets. When flyers went up for a studio exhibition, Emma's stomach knotted. But Marge slid a glossy postcard across her work table, Emma's collection in bold print. No takebacks. Opening night, strangers lingered near her organic, thumb-ridged bowls. One woman even cradled a piece, whispering, "Feels alive." And wasn't that magic? Clay remembered every touch, every restart, without judging. By summer's end, Emma's shelves home brimmed with chunky teapots and lopsided vases she adored. Not flawless, but hers. Knees might still creak, but now they bent easily beside her wheel, grounded in earth that didn't demand words, just presence. Emma's 45-year-old knees hit pavement hard as she scrambled to grab runaway clay before it smeared across her studio floor. Third ruined lump this week. Hands trembled, not from arthritis, but that familiar buzz of why bother humming under her skin. Seattle drizzle blurred windows like her frayed confidence. But potters don't quit mid-spin. She wedged clay like it owed her money, knuckles remembering their strength. Will hummed to life beneath her, a steadier heartbeat than her own. Centering became meditation. Press, lift, repeat until world shrank to just wet earth and willpower. Each wobble mirrored her own stumbles. That disastrous PTA meeting where she'd spilled coffee down her blouse, or community BBQs where she hid behind potato salad. Months later, glazed bowls lined her shelves like hard-won trophies. Still, signing up for Greenwood Art Walk felt like volunteering for a root canal. What if folks sneered her chunky mugs? But then she pictured her granddaughter's face when she'd handed her a lopsided pinch pot. You made magic, Nana. Opening night, Emma clutched her name tag like a life raft. Crowds milled past her booth, but then a woman paused, tracing a thumb over a speckled berry bowl. Feels like sunrise, she murmured. Others gathered, swapping stories over her honey jars. No one cared about her sweaty palms or how she'd botched handles twice. They just saw joy baked into every piece. By night's end, her table was bare. Knees protested as she packed up, but her chest felt lighter than it had in decades. Clay hadn't fixed her. It had reminded her that cracks were just places where light got in. On drive home, rain blurred windshield again. This time, she grinned. Let it pour. Emma's 45-year-old knees hit pavement hard as she scrambled to gather scattered pottery shards. Her latest creation, smashed by a rogue skateboarder. Heart pounding, cheeks burning, she braced for stares. But instead of judgment, a hand reached down. Need help? A stranger knelt beside her, scooping up jagged pieces. Woman blinked. Since when did Seattle sidewalks offer kindness to middle-aged women with social anxiety? 3 months prior, woman had dragged herself into a community pottery class, lured by a flyer promising clay therapy. That first night, her hands shook so badly her vase collapsed into a lopsided pancake. But Wheel's rhythmic hum grounded her. Centering clay became centering herself. Each spin chipped away her fear of being seen. Now, clutching broken fragments, Creator made a gutsy move. She pulled a small, intact bowl from her bag, one she'd secretly glazed midnight blue with gold cracks, a tribute to her own mended edges. Keep this, she told stranger, pressing it into their hands. Their stunned grin lit up gray afternoon. Word spread. By week's end, Emma's quirky, flawed, but functional pottery became a vibe local markets. Then came twist. A tourist snapped her handing a teapot to a scowling barista who'd once rolled eyes her stutter. Photo went viral. Seattle's ceramic whisper trending with hashtags about quiet courage. Community Center's annual barbecue. Creator set up a pop-up wheel. Skeptical neighbors hovered, arms crossed, until she threw a perfect cylinder blindfolded, a sly nod to her own once-blinded self-worth. Crowd erupted. Even Mrs. Kowalski, who'd sked Emma's messy hobby, gasped, well, damn. As sunset painted sky sherbet hues, Emma loaded her kiln one last time. Life's worth capturing, she thought, palms dusty with purpose. Clay didn't care about age or awkwardness. It just asked to be shaped, and so had she. Emma's 45-year-old knees hit pavement hard as she stumbled into Clay and Kind, a pottery studio smelling of earth and second chances. Fingers trembling, she pressed into cool clay, spinning chaos into something solid. That first wobbling bowl. Lopsided, sure, but hers. Weeks passed with sleeves perpetually flecked in mud, her odd habit of humming sea shanties while sintering clay earning giggles from regulars. By summer, Emma's hands moved with quiet certainty. No longer hiding behind grocery store sunglasses, she hosted community BBQs where neighbors glazed mugs between burger flips. Laughter stuck to walls like kiln dust. When Studio announced an exhibition, she hesitated, until recalling how clay cracks if dried too fast. Growth needs patience, not perfection. Opening night, spotlights hit her pebble-textured vase, its curves echoing Puget sound waves. Strangers traced ridges with curious fingers. A silver-haired woman whispered, feels like courage. Emma grinned, guiding a teen's nervous palms on wheel, showing how pressure shapes beauty. Clay had taught her, spin fear into art, let others see mess. Now, she runs workshops called Centered where beginners leave with muddy grins and mugs labeled proof I showed up. Grab some clay, spin your brave.